Hey everybody, good afternoon homeschoolers all across Australia. Welcome to our Burnout Live. And I know that as a long-term homeschooler, this is going to be something that really resonates. If you've been doing homeschool for any amount of time, you will have felt some aspect of this, and some of us who've been doing it for a long time have really felt the waves of burnout and refreshment. Hi to those of you who are hopping into our live. Great to see you here. And we've got one of the things that's going to be really important today is when we're feeling burnout, what we really need is community. Part of what we really need is a homeschool community around us. And so one of the ways that we're going to provide that for each other today is by sharing our ideas and being real. So I'm going to have a little bit of real, and I encourage you to be brave and have a little bit of real as well, because it's in our real vulnerable space. I love Brené Brown. I've been watching quite a lot of Brené Brown lately, and she talks about vulnerability and how and shame. And shame is a thing that many homeschoolers fight with, many parents fight with. And vulnerability is a thing that we take on and we carry, because you can't achieve anything great without being vulnerable. You can't conquer anything big without being vulnerable. And taking on the education of our own kids makes us vulnerable. And so I really encourage you to participate in our conversation today, so that we can share with each other our burnout journey and how we cope with that. I've got some really good tips for you here, and we're going to actually share some really good tips with each other. Some really good ideas for coping with burnout, reducing burnout, how to revitalize what's going on in our lives when we feel that burnout thing coming on. And so my first question to you is, what triggers do you have in your life, or do you notice in other people's homeschooling lives, that you think creates or contributes to homeschool burnout? And I have to say that that homeschooling burnout is very connected to parenting burnout, right? Because parents sometimes feel burnt out, and we just parent 24 hours a day. That's what we do. And so what things do you think? Can you think of anything? And post it in the chat below so that we're sharing together and creating that community. What are the factors that you think contribute to your own burnout, or contribute to other homeschoolers' burnout? So I've got a few things. Shannon Ray, you got to it before I even said it. That was so fast, taking on too much at once. So one of the things on my list was overcommitment. We're really good at that. I remember back when my own kids were young, mum guilt. Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. And I think that's where that guilt and shame thing really comes in. Because we all feel that. I remember when I was first homeschooling my kids, and we used to get together in somebody's lounge room and write out something to do once a month, and it really actually got to the point about 6 years after that there was more than we could do, and then we started to get that overcommitment burnout. Emily's posted. Shared in here that one of the things that's hard for her, or perhaps other people she knows, is having kids on the spectrum, and then them being overwhelmed with the silly season. So stuff gets really busy, you have a lot of stuff happening, and then your kids start to get overloaded and overwhelmed, and that's draining for parents too. And so yeah, I can see some love coming in for Emily there, people. Sending you hugs there, Emily. And it's it's really important that we support each other and that we share that community in this space, because in this space, this could be part of what helps you to turn that around and to start to make a difference in your family's life and in your own life and your own feelings right at the moment. Mandy Lee has put an ability to process sensory and auditory processing issues. So Mandy, I'm wondering if that's for parents, or like for homeschooling parents or kids, or both. That can be, look, lots of us are neurodiverse too, right? And so our own neurodiversity is going to play into this as well. And we also know that mental health issues are really, really big at the moment. There's a lot of people that have come out of COVID struggling with mental health issues already, and this is both kids and parents. And so already having contributing factors with anxiety and depression and our own neurodiversity and our own mental health issues are going to contribute to this. So Mandy said in her household it's both. And I think that's actually pretty common. I think you're not alone in that. So I want to say, like really, you're really, really not alone. All these things that people are putting up, we really feel you in this, because any of us who've been homeschooling for any length of time, any number of kids, have experienced a lot of these things. Callie has put demand avoidance. Absolutely. That's a really tough one, because you struggle with, do I ask for help? Do I not ask for help? Do I ask them to contribute? Do I not ask them to contribute? It's not good if I say nothing, but it's exhausting to try and make that happen, because I shouldn't ask and then leave it be. There's whole heaps of angst in this, and it's hard. Leah said trying to give enough time to three different learning levels. So trying to do our very, very best parenting job for multiple kids. Yeah, totally true in there. And Emily started on the, Emily Burt has started on some of the ideas for how to do this. She said she does a lot of joint learning at this time of the year. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we've actually put out a Christmas core and a summer core, to give you some things that you can just do that are really fun and engaging together as a family. Anticipation of presents. Yeah, gifts and presents and all that busy family time are not easy for lots of people. Even fixing like food for special things is not actually easy. That can create burnout and anxiety as well. A couple of other things we had on our list. Perfectionists. Surely there are not any perfectionists in here. You might like to post something in there if you feel that weight of perfectionism. Yeah, that's tricky. We all want so much good for our kids. We really, really care about our kids. We really, really love our kids. And that perfectionism thing weighs on us a lot. Boredom, when we're trying to get a whole heap of stuff done and then our kids get bored. I know that can be tricky too. And one other thing that somebody shared was a lack of recognition. Yeah, I can see some people, thank you so much for being vulnerable in here. There's some people that are willing to say, yes, perfectionism is hard for them. And so thank you, because in that vulnerable space, then we really get to share with each other and support each other and be loving and kind to each other. So you're very brave, and I applaud your braveness in sharing your vulnerability here. So Rachel says juggling housework and homeschooling. Yeah, I know. One of the reasons I have this bookshelf behind me, I'm going to be vulnerable, right? This is my moment of vulnerability. I'm just going to turn my computer screen to what's really in my house, okay? This is actually my house. Chaos, okay? I've got stuff everywhere. And this is why I need a really tidy little bookshelf space behind me, because we can actually put our best faces forward to people, right, on social media. So social media is another place I think that creates burnout, because people only post their best, right? You get to see my really tidy bookshelf that I fixed just before this video. You don't get to see the rest, except for that I just shared it. You don't get to see the rest of my house where there's piles of crates and books and stuff everywhere. But that's real life, hey. And juggling that housework stuff with our homeschooling journey and with our parenting and with all the rest of the bits and pieces in our life is hard. Okay, so yeah, and Lee said constantly her kids are asking to do things that she can't provide. And like, so big outings and excursions and crazy equipment and stuff like that. And Leah, I guess that probably sort of also leads to that idea of, am I doing enough? Can I really provide them with what they need? Am I enough? That mum guilt thing of, crumbs, am I really giving my kids what's really good for them? Is it enough? And the idea of coping with our own emotions, and you see your school kids and all the, like your friends with their kids that go to school, and all the things that they're doing, and the awards they get and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, Ali, there's nothing perfect about my house. I've actually got a new staff member staying here, and I had to apologize to her that she's going to have to make up her own bed. My bathroom has not been cleaned for several weeks. It's awful, and I'm really embarrassed about it, but it's the best I can do, right? We just all do the best that we can do. There you go. I've got 2 moments of vulnerability in here. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing, because what I'd really like to think about now, so I'm going to change the topic and do a little bit of a different kind of share. What does burnout feel like? Okay, so how do you know when you're burnt out? Is it different to, because a lot of us feel stress, we feel anxiety, we might feel worried or depressed, but what does burnout feel like? Where do you feel that in your body? What are the thoughts going through your mind? What does it feel like to you physically, mentally, when you feel burnt out? How would somebody recognize? Do you know what's your first indication that you're not okay here? So Emily said for her it's yelling. So you can feel your frustration rising. You can feel your impatience and your frustration rising, and you start yelling at your kids and think, oh, I didn't want to do that. Where did that come from? That's not the kind of mum I want to be. So Michelle has said feeling tired and exhausted. Yeah, like you just don't want to get up this morning, and your kids are asking for breakfast, and you know you got to get that load of washing in before you go out, and you're just tired. Tanya says she feels it all over, and even breathing can be an effort. Yeah, Tanya, I so get that. There are days where every breath takes effort. Really, yes, it can be that physical. Amber has mentioned resentment. Yeah, and isn't that so hard? Because we actually really want to, that's very brave, Amber, because we really want to appreciate our kids. We really want to appreciate our family and say good things to them. We want to be kind mums, and yet we resent the lack of effort people are putting in. We resent the lack of appreciation that we get. We can put a lot of effort into planning something, and then nobody appreciates it. Nobody appreciates or notices all the 100 little things we do every week just to make life tick over. Back to how it feels. Leah has mentioned anxiety and feeling tight in her chest. And it's just so physical, isn't it? I think that's one of the things about all sorts of emotional stuff is how physical that gets, how emotional you feel. I don't know about you, but it's easy to cry. It's really easy to cry. It's really easy to be short-fused. constant headaches. Yeah, that's really tough too, Emily. Because it's just really hard to concentrate and do anything and be motivated to do anything with headaches hanging over you all the time. Jillian's mentioned no tolerance. Yeah. And monotonous. Yeah. Amber, yes. Everything just seems like it's exactly the same every day. Yeah. And Erica, I so get that. The tears thing, when you just can't hold them in anymore, you feel like there's just buckets and you just want to cry and you just want to give up and you just feel like you can't do it. Rachel's mentioned feeling mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted, unmotivated, teary. I try to escape life through social media. Oh, Rachel, we so feel you. All of us, everybody that's in here. I doubt that there's any of us that don't feel that. You've sort of put words around that whole big thing. It's just really, it's just really big. Mandy said, enter the gladiator, aka circus music, on repeat internally. Yeah. A sense of humor will get us a long way, Mandy. That's it's tongue-in-cheek sense of humor because there's pain and coping mechanisms in there. But yes. Overwhelmed and physically exhausted and drained. Yes, Robin. Katie says she's actually feeling heard, and that's so good to all of you. Thank you for participating so much in the community of this, because that's really important for us to feel heard, to feel understood, to know that we're not here alone. Christiane has got lack of mental clarity about anything, forgetting about the overall goals and the why. Yes, you forget the big picture. Brain fog. Michelle says she actually feels normal reading all these comments. Yeah, and panicking. Yes, have you done enough? And particularly at the end of the year when there's no time left to do more. There's always next year, Tanya, I have to say. So now we're up to the what do we actually do about it, okay? Because obviously this is a very real space for all of us, okay? So all of us have these burnout factors. And all of us feel it in our bodies very, very physically. It's so real. It's really, really real. And because of that, we actually need to, when we start to feel those things coming on, now that we've named them, right? Naming stuff is really important when you talk about it and you name it. Even that one step is the first step in the right direction. When you can talk about something and you give it a name and you have people that you can share that with, that's a really good step in the right direction. And I know in our community, our Simply Homeschool community group, people do actually really post when they're not feeling good, and they're always our biggest posts. You always get so many, I'm here with you and I get this. Responses, and that community thing really matters. Okay, so I've got 3 things. Okay, so 3 simple steps, because grab a pen if you need it, okay, because this is the point that you can write yourself a list. I actually have a list on my fridge that I've developed. Crumbs, there's a lot of vulnerability going into this live. I have a list on my fridge that's a looking after myself list. Now, I don't naturally do this well, right? I'm one of those people who is used to the feeling of running on empty. And I now have a list on my fridge because I'm not good at it. And it's written up there in whiteboard marker, and I have colored whiteboard markers that sit next to my fridge, and I actually mark off the things I do each day. And if I'm not feeling good, I've got to go to my fridge and start doing stuff on my list. But some of those things I manage to do every morning to get myself started now. It's been a learning curve for me to figure out, how do I look after myself so that I'm okay for my family? So, time to grab a pen if you haven't got one. And I'm going to suggest 3 things and we're going to share together, okay? Because between us as a community, we have so much good to say and good to share to help each other. Okay, so I'll tell you what the 3 things are. And then we're going to make some lists for those 3 things. Okay, so first one is pause. Second one is play, and the third one is prioritize. Okay, so number 1 is going to be pause. Number 2 is going to be play. And number 3 is going to be prioritize. And we're going to deal with them one at a time. And we're going to do some posting and sharing to help each other. Okay? So, pause. Pause are all the things, what I want you to list in the chat are all the things or something that you think you really can pause on. Okay? That will help. Okay? Because the first thing we have to do when we start to feel like that is actually stop and pause. Okay, press the pause button. What can you pause? Okay, so we want lots of ideas for all, and it can be tiny things, okay, like really, really little things. What's something that you can pause? Okay, Jillian says coffee. That's on my list. It's on my fridge list. Coffee. 1 coffee a day. Don't do too many because that's not going to help you pause. Housework is always the first to pause. Absolutely. If you stop cleaning your house for a week or even a month, your house is going to be okay and your kids will just build immunity, right? So it's going to be okay. So housework is something we can pause. Jillian, were you suggesting that we pause on the coffee or were you suggesting that you pause to have a coffee? Either could be okay. Either could be the right thing, actually. I just realized I may have misinterpreted what you said. Pause on social media. Yes, Michelle. Actually, that's one of the things that I've managed to do with my kids every year for about the last 5 or 6 years. We go camping for a week somewhere where there is no social media. And it's actually pause to drink coffee. Yeah, absolutely. We go camping somewhere that there's no, your phone is on, actually it's got no signal. It's not even got emergency signal. So that we get that break. And I'm actually hungering for that break. I am so looking forward to that break because I need the complete social media off time. But even when I go on holidays and I've still got social media, it's really important to me to turn off all my notifications. I try and, the last couple of weeks ready for Christmas, I've been unsubscribing from lots of mailing lists. And I'm going to turn off all my notifications so that when I touch the front of my phone, there's nothing there. No notifications because I don't get notified. And that, because social media can actually make you feel worse. You kind of do that scroll thing and it actually makes it worse. So you feel like you're escaping to it because your brain won't tick over and you can't concentrate. But in actual fact, that fake and fast dopamine actually doesn't let your brain settle down again and relax. Okay, so what else can we pause on? I think Emily said making food from scratch and being okay with shop bought. Yeah, it's okay to buy pies occasionally. It's okay. Hot chips are great because they're not expensive. You can go to the beach or go to the park, grab some hot chips, and it's okay. Like I'm a health food mum, right? I'm a really health food mum, but it's okay to have some really easy meals. Yep, that's something you can pause on. Think about some smaller things, okay? So at a really basic level, let's go really small. What's a 5-minute pause? Okay, a 5-minute pause can just be to breathe. Just go outside. Stand in the sun, close your eyes, listen to what you can hear, and breathe deliberately. You can do a 5-minute pause. One thing that I've learned in the last year, this is a really super cool one because even in my ADHD brain this works, right? You count backwards from 200. You count by twos, and you have to count 2 numbers for every breath. So you breathe in to count 200, 198, and out to count 196, 194, in to count 192, 190. And if you've got a really fast ADHD brain and you need something else because your brain's still not concentrating just on the breathing, you can walk at the same time. So you can try and match your steps with your breath with like a certain number of steps per breath per counting and count backwards from 200 by twos. If I'm really desperate, I count backwards from 300 by threes just because I've got to think harder. Okay, so these little things that we can pause on big things like pause on activities. It's okay to take a whole term off and not do activities if that's what you need. It's okay to take a week off school. It's okay to take a month off school. Hopefully all of you have already stopped school for the year and won't actually start again till February, okay? Because we work very, very hard at this. And so you need to give yourself a long enough break. We can go visit friends. We can stop doing the housework. Take yourself a break, okay? We need to pause. Second thing, play. Now, this is the hardest one for us. Oh, well, actually, this is one of the hardest ones for us, right? Here's your challenge. You got to play something without thinking about the educational value. All right, this is the longer you've been homeschooling, the harder this gets, right? So you're allowed to play Scrabble, but you're not allowed to think of it as a spelling lesson. Okay, you're allowed to go to visit somewhere as an yeah, Emily's laughing. Go to visit somewhere as an excursion, which without thinking which subjects it covers. You're allowed to cook something without actually teaching your kids how to do fractions or follow a recipe. You're allowed to just cook it just because it's fun. Okay? Now, what I want you to post in the chat, okay? What's the funnest thing that you can think of to do? Yeah, I know, right, Katie? Funnest thing that you can think of to do that's we're going to be okay, Emily. We're in this together. We can do this. So Erica has suggested play music. Yeah, play music without talking about who the composer is, when the music was written, what style of music it is, right? Just play music and dance for the fun of it. Don't teach your kids how to waltz. Just play the music for the fun, okay? Just for the fun and the dancing, all right? I tell you one of my funnest. Okay, so I want you to post fun things to do, fun, easy, cheap things to do so that everybody's got some play, all right? Feed your farm animals. One of my funnest things that I've ever done with my kids, we live really close to the supermarket, but you could do this even if you had to drive to the supermarket, right? You get teaspoons out of your kitchen drawer, you drive to the supermarket, you buy a carton of ice cream that's the right size for your family, and then you eat the entire carton with the teaspoons together out of the carton. It's a really, really fun activity. We can actually walk to our shops, and so we used to just very occasionally, and only about once a year, but we'd walk down to the shops carrying a teaspoon each. We'd buy a carton of ice cream and we'd eat the whole lot on the way home with the teaspoons. It's really fun. Go for a drive and find a park to play at. Play at the beach. Yep, great ideas. What about things like build a cubby with your kids? Get all your chairs and all your sheets and all your blankets, and they're not folded up anyway, right? They're just sitting in baskets waiting to be washed. And so you can grab all the pegs and make cubby houses and sit in the cubby house and have a picnic with your kids. Cloud watching. Go lay on your trampoline and watch clouds together. Go for a walk. Kaylee says they love building cubbies. Yeah, that's a really good one. Build a Lego city together. Lots and lots of Lego. Lego is really, really good. Just sit and play Lego with your kids. Set up a tent in your yard. Yep. If you haven't got fire restrictions yet, you could light a campfire and do some fun cooking outside, even if you can't go camping. Fun movie and pizza and popcorn. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Swimming. Go out for ice cream or a shake. Make up games on the trampoline with soccer balls. Yeah. Lots and lots of good ideas for play. Face painting. Yes. Play that is just for play. Okay, play is really, really good for us. And it's tricky. I know as homeschool moms, you're always thinking of the lessons in it, but we need to just actually have some time to play with our kids. And if you have older kids, play looks differently. Can look quite different. Play can look like going to a cafe. Play can look like painting our nails together, Madison. I was just about to say that. Things that are just doing, I'll tell you another holiday thing that we've done that's just kind of play that's really good for spending time with teenage girls particularly, although actually lots of homeschool boys have long hair too, is buying a packet of 100 of those tiny bands and plaiting everybody's hair into tiny little plaits. Write messages in chalk on the walking track to make someone smile. Blowing bubbles. Yeah, nice idea. Plant a garden. I'm busy trying to plant my garden at the moment. My daughter's not actually helping me, but she was keen to come and look at what I was doing. So, yeah, there you go. So that's our play. So pause, play. Yeah, makeup. That's another fun one, especially if you've got an important event coming up and you want to practice. That's a really good one. Okay, last one, priorities. Okay, so when you feel okay to start going back to something, don't go back too fast. Because if the way that you had everything set up was causing your burnout, you need to actually think through carefully how you're going to go back into this in a way that's sustainable. Okay, now this doesn't mean you won't ever get burnt out, because you're still going to get tired, because this is hard work, right? It's a big commitment. To homeschool your kids is a big commitment. Okay, it's hard work, and we get burnt out as parents even without the homeschooling. So you do need to be able to recognize what burnout feels like and have strategies for that. But when you start to think about going back in to your homeschool world, so this is not yet, right? This is February, end of January, when you start to think about going back, because you're all going to have a break now, right? Everybody's done homeschooling for the year. Any learning that happens from now on is going to be accidental and non-documented, okay? And because you really need some time off, your kids need some time off. And I'm saying this as much to myself as the rest of you. When you do start to consider going back, what are the 3 things, okay, that you feel like, and you can't have more than 3, okay? Nobody's allowed to have more than 3. I want you to think of the 3 things that actually really are your priorities, and I don't want any of them to be school. Okay? None of them are allowed to be school. I want you to think of the 3 things that need to, and you can put them in the chat so we can help each other, okay? We want to post this to help each other. What are the 3 things? And they can be little things, all right? So they don't need to be, it's better if they're not big things, actually. See if you can think of 3 specific little things, okay? So little things like, I'm going to make sure, I tell you another good one that I've got lately, that I'm trying to prioritize, is going for a walk in the afternoons with my playlist on. So I've got a really good playlist, and I've got a playlist called Hope. Actually I could put my Hope playlist onto we now have a Simply Homeschool playlist. I'll see if I can get my Hope playlist across onto Simply Homeschool. It has got quite a lot, it's got Christian songs on it. But for me, that's really important. That's my Hope playlist. And I go for a walk nearly every afternoon with my headphones on, and to my daughter's extreme embarrassment, I sing. I try and walk not too close to people, like I sort of watch out for people. But for me, that's one of my biggest priorities, right? I've got so much good happening in there. I've got outside, sunshine, fresh air, exercise, music, encouraging words, and singing, okay? All of these things, and I can't think. Even my ADHD brain can't think while I'm singing aloud to my favorite playlist, okay? So try and be as specific as you can. What are your 3 things? So Emily has put healthy choices, nice words, and kind hearts. Michelle has put walking every day, laughing every day, and kind words only to myself. Yeah. Kind words to yourself, Michelle. That's a really, really big one. Madison has put laughter, dance, and nature adventures. Yeah, great ideas in there. So try being specific. I've read somewhere actually you can have a goal that you're going to make your kids laugh every day. One thing, make my kids laugh every day. Dance is really good for you for lots of reasons, and nature adventures are as well. What are your 3 things? And if you can't get 3 right now, what's one thing that you can do that you want to prioritize as you start to go back into your daily life next year? Okay, now some of these actually might be so good that these are things you can start to practice and implement now, because they're not school, right? We're not allowed to put school up here at the moment. How can you implement those things? Spend the next 2 months implementing those things to become part of your life and part of the way you look after yourself, so that when you go back, you've got this strategy around you, because it only takes 6 weeks to make a new habit, right? So you have more than 6 weeks. You've got about 8 weeks to develop new habits that are going to surround you with some resilience and some care that are going to help you next year. So Tracy, I'll put this last one. Tracy said, time to ourselves, time outside, and time to mess around. Yeah, that sounds like play and outside and time to just be. So look, so much good in here, everybody, and thank you so, yeah, I just don't want to stop. Hey, cuppa in the sun, watching flowers grow. Yes, go plant some flowers so that you've got them, Erica. Quality family time. Thank you so much for sharing. It's so important to share with each other, because we really, really need community. With the community thing, if you have a trial for Simply Homeschool, or if you want to create one, we'd love you to join our community group, because that community is really, really important. We need each other to cheer each other on, to send hugs to each other when we need them, and to help each other to be vulnerable and know that that's okay. Because when we share our vulnerability, shame is destroyed by talking it out loud and sharing. Shame can't live when guilt still lives and you've got to do something about that. But shame is different. Shame actually goes when you share it. One of the things that kills shame quickest is sharing it and being vulnerable. And so as we create this space together and we really care for each other, this is our space to support each other and to help us to recognize burnout and to create strategies around ourselves to look after ourselves, because we have such an important job to do, because we are raising adults, the next generation, and we love our kids so much. So mamas, I want you, and dads, anybody else who's watching, I want you to have a really, really restful holiday. Spend it developing some really good habits that that become your resilience to help guard you against that burnout and to create some space and healing and goodness for you and for your kids. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you in our community group. Thanks for joining us today. It's been so lovely to share this time with you, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you at our next summer session soon. Okay, bye everybody.